eat you like a jelly bean.
It's your boy John Mack, aka Mindbender in the building, and this is Metro 360. Well, let's talk about it. LL Cool J and Tupac. You know, one of the memorable lines from what I think should have been the One Nation album, I'm not really sure, but you know, on those Underground Machiavellis that was released after the death of Tupac Shakur, there was a song called My Little Homies. I think they ended up releasing it later on, but I can't be absolutely sure. But anyways, at the very end he says, LL, I'll rock your motherfucking bells. And you know, a lot of people out there suspected that Tupac said that, you know, over his relationship with Kadada. And there's a lot of little bones to pick in there. You know, strange behavior by Kadada after Pac's death, and strange behavior by Puff around Kadada. That's a whole nother story. But Puff being connected to LL Cool J and LL Cool J having a connection to Big, you know, the first time we noticed that LL Cool J was around Big was on the Craig Mack Flavor in Your Ear remix, which is still debated about LL saying that part like, Ishi? Like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people still debate that situation. I heard him on Sway's dispel a lot of those rumors, but to stay on key and to stay on subject, it seemed like there was a strange dynamic going on between all three artists. The Notorious B.I.G., LL, and Tupac. All three imagining that one another's taking shots at another and setting the other one up and dissing, you know, artists on the same track as each other, and there was some kind of competition going on, you know what I'm saying? But one can only speculate on certain things. So I'm gonna take y'all back, you know, back in time and show the way that, you know, a lot of the shit that LL came out with, he was bitten. A lot of people talk about how much people bit Tupac, but how much did Tupac bite LL? It's a real question. I mean, LL is one of the first artists in the game when people had hair and flat tops and Gumbies, then moving on to braids and dreads and so forth. He was one of the first artists to have a bald head and remain that way. And I know he covered it up with Kangos and hats and shit a lot early in his career, but we all knew this secret, you know. LL don't got no hair. Tupac initially came out with Digital Underground with the high top fade type of shit, but then by the second album, Thug Life Tats and a Bald Head, he changed it up. Nobody drew a comparison to LL back then because the only dudes that really went with bald heads was R&B dudes, you know, like Aaron Hall and R. Kelly. It wasn't really a thing. People wasn't really rocking a bald head like, you know. You got a lot of dudes to this very day, hair club for men, dudes with plugs, all kind of shit, but not LL, and not Pac either. And their careers excelled, you know, having, you know, the eyebrows be the only hair above the eyes. However, whether they was trying to imitate Tommy from Martin or some other type of shit, nobody really knows, but Thomas Michael Ford was one of the original dudes with the Aaron Hall, with the R. Kelly, with the Tupac. You know, he was the original skintimate brother. Now, the reason why all of this, you know, is crazy is because LL, when he first came out with the Mama Said Knock You Out album, which ended up being a Grammy award-winning album, platinum selling album, and an absolute classic when you really break it down and go back and look at it. But he had a song called BOOMIN System. Now, I want to reiterate, LL had done a lot of pioneering shit in hip-hop that other people wouldn't dare to do. Like, even way before that album came out, he had a song called Going Back to Cali, which the Notorious Big ended up copying later on. I'm going back to Cali. You see the dynamics there? You see how many people done copied LL? Well, in this dynamic, you know, he came up with the song BOOMIN System where he had, you know, a Mad Max theory going on. It really kind of starts off weird. He starts off like going into this cave where it's like a video game lounge, you know what I'm saying? And then he starts playing a game where he's like the Mad Max character. And the reason you can tell is because the cop car that he's driving in the video game is a police interceptor. That's the same car that Mad Max drove. He's wearing black leather, you know what I'm saying? The whole shebang. Then the crazy part is the girl that he has featured, you know, in the video looks like JADA a little bit, right? But let me tell you another side plot and interesting dynamic to what's going on here. Then, all of a sudden, Dr. Dre mentions during a video shoot of the California Love video that Jada Pinkett gave him the idea to do the video. Interesting enough. Because Big's homeboy KLEPTO, one of the artists from the Junior Mafia, said that the song Who Shot Ya definitely couldn't have been about Pac because that song was done over a beat that Puff had produced during the Jason's Lyric movie release party. He said LL happened to be in the studio that day, and that's the reason why LL came out with the song I Shot Ya. So there's a ton of mix-up in this story, right? A ton of mix-up. And you can see how shit got spun out of control. You know what I'm saying? The puppeteers behind the scenes wasn't trying to tell nobody the real shit that was going on. So now East Coast, West Coast beef start up and all kind of other crazy shit. So peep this and then I'll come back and say some more shit.
Is this an idea that you guys came up with, like you and Tupac, and presented to the director? Is it something the director
No,
had?
actually, Jada Pinkett came up with this concept. Yeah, she came up with the concept, and it was a little different. It's a little different from what she came up with, but we liked the idea and just ran with it, you know. It's coming out real good.
Who Shot Ya, right? You know, most people, they feel like that song was about Pac. But from your point of view, how did that song come about? Because I know you got a different story.
So me and Big, we go to the Jason's Lyrics movie premiere party, and it's raining cats and dogs that night. So Big is like, yo, Puff want me to come to the studio. I got a plane to catch in the morning. He trying to get me to the stand. I'm trying to go to no studio. I'm like, yo, so me and the Jason's Lyrics, I'm like, yo, let's just go and listen to the beat. I'm like, yo, let's listen to the beat. Like, don't, he like, yo, nah, man, nah, we chilling, da. And out the same night, I tell a story, I saw Jada Pinkett for the first time. So I see Jada Pinkett, and mind you, I told you I was still dipped, but I was dipped back then, like DKNY, big herringbone chain, had DKNY, had like all sort of Tag Heuer watch, fly gear. So I see Jada Pinkett. So I start kicking it to her. I pressed her so she stopped. She stopped and she talking, giving me mad rhythm, and I'm kicking it to her because I was knocking everything down back then. So I'm kicking it to her, and she giving me rhythm, and all her friends come up to her like, yo, come on, girl, come on, let's go. She looked at all of them. She like, yo, wait. I'm talking, don't y'all see I'm talking? I respect her for that. Like cause you know, so yeah, no, that's live. That was live, cause shorty, they, you know the friends, they always trying to, oh, let me pull you, y'all, let me pull her. She looked at them, she shut all her girls down. On my son, on my son. She shut her girl down like, oh, no. She like, hold on, don't you see I'm talking? Kicking it with her. Next thing I know, like a few weeks later, she with Will Smith, and then it's all she wrote. Like I don't even remember like if I got a number or what happened. Or I gave her mine. I don't know what the hell happened. Like it was so long, but I do know that she was with Will Smith after that, and now I could just relive the story, talking about how I almost bagged her.
Actually, it's just a song about partying, and it's talking about how California knows how to party. California loves to party, and that's basically it. And we're like hollering out all the cities that's in California, how this city likes to party, and you know, it's a real fly song. I think it's one of my better songs.
So when did you guys first start talking about this song and maybe him putting it on his album?
I just happened to be in the studio one day, you know, and it just came about then. And all of it happened in one night. Recorded him on the song, we mixed it, now we're out here. This was about maybe a week and a half ago. So this video got put together pretty quick, you know, for it to be as big as it is. You know, the producer, Phil Atwell, hooked it up, you know, made it come off right.
It's a huge production. You have like helicopters, you have the whole setup. There's like 2 sets over there.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right.
Tell me the concept of the video. It looks amazing.
The whole concept of the video was Los Angeles, California, the year 2095, after the end of the world. You know, Mad Max type of vibe.
Mad Max type of vibe. Mad Max type of vibe.
And basically, there's a villain in it. Clifton Powell is playing a villain, and his sidekick Chris Tucker. They're trying to stop me and Tupac from having parties. You know, whoever controls the parties control the people. So that's the whole concept, and they're trying to control all the parties. Me and Tupac are having a big party at the Thunderdome and what have you, and they don't want us to do it. So it's just a lot of chasing, and they're just basically trying to stop us from doing this thing.
Is this an idea that you guys came up with, like you and Tupac, and presented to the director? Is it something the director had?
No, actually, Jada Pinkett came up with this concept. Yeah, she came up with the concept, and it was a little different. It's a little different from what she came up with, but we liked the idea and just ran with it, you know. It's coming out real good.
Now, there's an interesting dynamic that takes place here. As you can see, the plot unfolding. The question was posed to Dr. Dre about who directed the video and who would be getting the credit, and Dr. Dre stated that Jada Pinkett was the creative force behind the idea and using the Mad Max theme for the California Love video. At the same time, right, KLEPTO from the Junior Mafia says that him and Big went to the Jason's Lyric soundtrack release party and that Jada Pinkett was there. He further goes on to say that Jada was real kind to him, even, you know, shunned her homegirls from pulling her away from KLEPTO. He was trying to bag her. He then goes on to say that a week later, Will Smith ends up bagging her, you know what I'm saying? And they about to get married and all this other kind of stuff. Now, the interesting dynamic to me when I heard that story, you know, both news to me on both sides. I don't think I ever paid attention to those interviews back in the day, but I was definitely paying attention now. And the dynamic is a couple things. LL Cool J and Will Smith's relationship. You know, considering that LL had a relationship with JADA before Tupac, it's alleged that LL Cool J didn't like the way Tupac was treating JADA. Often heard, you know, yelling at her and different things of that nature. Will Smith and LL Cool J were both on the same network with major network television shows at the same time. One being LL Cool J's In the House, and the other one being Will Smith's Fresh Prince. And if you check YouTube, you'll notice an obscure commercial with them promoting both TV shows simultaneously, also reaffirming a connection between Tupac and LL, specifically during the era when Will Smith made his move on Jada, later on to get married, have 2 kids, so forth and so on. So you got to think to yourself, before I even go any further with these theories, what role did LL have in helping Will Smith attain the relationship that would spark a marriage and children later on between the Fresh Prince and Jada Pinkett? The reason why I say that is because we all know that Tupac had a strong affinity and affection for Jada. And as we see years later, Jada still feeling some sort of weird guilt about not maintaining a loving relationship with Tupac, maybe even harboring guilt that she might have stopped him from going to Vegas that night. Even so much so with her daughter, Will Smith's daughter, writing a letter to Tupac. It was quite interesting that his daughter would write a letter to his mother's ex-love interest. However, on the other side of that, you wonder if that was a ploy to get back at Tupac. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a lot of shorts out there claiming one thing or the other that happened between Tupac and LL Cool J, but none quite with the depth of understanding of why there was a riff or a beef. Now, on the other hand, it seems like there could have been a grave mix-up. But before I get ahead of myself, I'm going to let you peep out some other clips, and then I'll chime in.
This is a classic photo of 2PAC at the MTV Awards show, and well behold, 2PAC is sitting literally right next to LL Cool J. It's believed that at the time, both 2PAC and LL Cool J were allegedly beefing each other. However, there were multiple potential reasons for why there was beef between LL Cool J and 2PAC. One reason why people thought 2PAC was beefing LL Cool J was because while 2PAC was in prison, LL Cool J released a song titled I Shot Ya. Now it has been confirmed this song wasn't about Tupac, but Tupac probably misunderstood the title due to the timing of the release of the song itself. Another reason may have been because before Tupac dated Jada Jones, 2 years before LL Cool J was actually dating Jada Jones, which may have caused in-house conflict between the two. Hence why Tupac dissed LL Cool J on his classic song Lil Homies.
LL Cool J was an inspiration for Tupac. However, in '95, LL released I Shot Ya. I bet you understand what the title of the song is referring to, but their conflict could also have happened because of Pac's girlfriend Jada Jones, who had been dating LL for almost 2 years before him. In Tupac's original song Lil Homies, which was released in 2001, the song ends with these lines.
LL Cool J, say what? Nigga, I rock your motherfucking bell. Me and my motherfucking outlaws. My little.
After Tupac's death, LL released a song produced by Puff Daddy, where he mentioned Pac.
Love Tupac, but hate some LL. You really want a thug, or do you?
Now, I'm not really sure what LL's reason was for making up a story right here, but he definitely makes up a story right here and dare somebody to Google it and find that award show. The problem is, he mentions giving props to Tupac on his new album, Mr. Smith, at an award show. But Tupac died before Mr. Smith came out. Pete.
So which award show? It was one I was hosting, but he had came up on stage and he grabbed the mic out of my hand and he was like trying to yell in the mic and the mic was off. And I just grabbed the mic back from him. He's like, oh, you had to take the mic back. And I said, Pac, what? I said, Pac, why don't you just relax, man? What's the problem? What's going on with you? He said, no, man, y'all don't give me no love. I said, Pac, I just said your name in the record on my album, Mr. Smith. He said, oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now you see what I'm saying? He says that he's at an award show and Tupac said, you know, y'all don't give me no props. Basically alluding to the fact that he's from New York originally and that New York rappers weren't acknowledging his contribution to the art form. And then it breaks my heart to hear LL Cool J lie and say, Pac, I just mentioned your name on my new album, Mr. Smith. Not only insulting our intelligence by thinking that Tupac would say, oh, that's true, knowing that a song was produced by Puffy, Puff, of all people. And then, you know, virtually dissing my man without really being overboard with it, which we know Tupac wouldn't have taken that lightly, knowing that LL is a battle rapper and LL is fearless when it comes to the mic. So we have to question ourselves and say, why would LL lie in that interview like that? And, you know, I got receipts. LL's song that is being referenced at the end of that clip, the Mr. Smith album didn't come out until like October 31st or some shit. Tupac had already, you know, been assassinated in September in Vegas, a month before that song even came out. And even in the clip earlier when they showed Tupac and LL at an award show together, they're not on stage where Tupac could try to take the mic from LL and LL question him on stage like that. That clip was at a Source Awards or something like that, and they were both sitting in the crowd, right? So why would LL make that story up? And what is LL covering within that story? Well, we do know that LL and Puff had a relationship because later on in the clip, you'll see KLEPTO speak about the song Who Shot Ya and why LL came out with the song I Shot Ya. And I'll conclude this information. Pete.
You know, I think
What
that
award show? You said it's an award show?
yeah, it was an award show I hosted. I don't know which show though, but I'm sure if people really search in Google, they'll find it. I don't know which show it is, but I'm sure it's on camera somewhere.
How LL Cool J became an unexpected inspiration for Tupac. You can't imagine it, but the notoriously hot-headed Tupac Shakur was once inspired by his rival LL Cool J, especially in matters of the heart. In 1992, when Jada Jones and LL Cool J were in a quiet but intense 2-year relationship. Despite their strong bond, Jada's emotional instability eventually caused the relationship to end, with LL Cool J parting ways but always maintaining a respectful distance. Fast forward to 1995, when Tupac and Jada started dating. While their romance was
Look at the LL video and Jada.
tense, Tupac's temper began to show. Sources close to them reported that Tupac was frequently harsh with Jada, even criticizing LL Cool J, accusing him of being too commercial. He used his 1995 track Old School to subtly diss LL.
Remember, break dance in your melly mel, tickling hot LL when he rock the bells.
First of all, shit for brains reporter on the beef between LL and Tupac. Tupac was actually giving LL props. I know you're not saying that when he said Jekyll and Hyde or Rock the Bells with LL, because Jekyll and Hyde ironically, is Andre Harrell. Now, Andre Harrell was one of the key people behind the TV show New York Undercover, in which he tried to recruit Tupac for that TV show a few different times. Some say Tupac turning that TV show down brought forth other events that led to him getting shot at the Quad Studios. Using the phrase rock the bells after LL, he was giving him props. That was one of LL's first singles, if not the first single, produced by Rick Rubin. So that didn't really make any sense. So when y'all watch a lot of these shorts and people that really didn't know Pac or know nothing about Pac, it's bullshit. And that's what happens when people outside of the culture report on the culture.
They play in the verse, and Big laid the verse. So as the verse is playing, I hear, old school, new school need to learn though. I burn, baby, burn like disco inferno. Burn slow like blood. And when he said old school, new school, you just felt the tension in the room with LL there. So I kind of look, but not really look, but I'm just like, yo, damn. This motherfucker just took a shot at LL like that, like, yo, because I'm like, oh, shit. So, but then when Big came, we laughed about it. I said, yo, damn, why you? We just had a quick laugh about it. Then next thing I know, I can't remember the timeline exactly.
I Shot Ya was because of that day in the studio, because of Who Shot Ya. And I'm like, and when you think about it, it's like,
it's a line that Big said.
Old school, new school, you need to learn though.
Okay. Is that, no?
No, that's not true. I was in the studio when Biggie wrote Who Shot Ya.
Okay, yeah.
Literally.
Next thing, LL come out with I Shot Ya. People don't know that LL was in the studio when Big made Who Shot Ya. So think about that. It was only 4 of us and 5 of us. I always mix the count up. 5 of us in the studio. Puff, LL, Big, me, and the engineer. Yeah, 5 of us in the studio. And that's why I tell people I feel like LL took that to heart, and that's why he made I Shot Ya.
So Who Shot Ya? That wasn't about Tupac. That was about LL.
That was done before Pac even got shot. From Jason's lyrics, After Party.
Okay, I brought notes because, like, there's a whole lot of interesting plots in there, and you might have got lost, like, from one thing to the other. So I'm gonna try to bring it back full circle for you and conclude it with understanding from my perspective. Okay, so like, the first theme that is openly discussed is the fact that LL Cool J did a video in 1990 to his hit single BOOMIN System, which was then followed up 5 years later by TUPAC Shakur and Dr. Dre in the California Love video. Now, the interesting dynamic between both of those scenarios is LL Cool J and Jada Pinkett. The reason why that's said is because it was alleged, right, that Biggie made the song I Shot Ya, or Who Shot Ya, excuse my language, as a diss track towards Pac. That was alleged. And his boy, KLEPTO, came out and said, nah, that was done before Pac got shot. Actually, you know, we was at the Jason's Lyrics soundtrack party, and Jada Pinkett was there. And we talked, I got at Jada Pinkett, I spit at her, you know, whoopty wop. She was very nice to me. Pause. Now this is where there's a little bit of confusion, but if you peep out the story, you'll see where I'm going with this. So basically, the night of the alleged Jason's Lyric soundtrack release party, Big and Jada obviously had a conversation, because KLEPTO wouldn't have had a conversation with Jada and Big not. Big and Jada both knowing that there was a relationship with Tupac. Right? You get what I'm saying? What conversation did they have? That's what, you know, I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall to have heard. What conversation was had between Big and Jada if KLEPTO was spitting at her? Okay, so now follow me here. Follow me. So now Big goes to the recording studio, as KLEPTO said, you know, to do the track that Puff had wanted them to do. And they said they hear the beat and it's thumping, and LL Cool J is in the studio, right? And says that Big was actually taking swipes at LL Cool J as opposed to Tupac, because Tupac hadn't even been shot yet. Now, this is where that doesn't make sense to me. Who shot you would make sense towards LL Cool J, because LL Cool J ain't never been shot. If Tupac hadn't been shot, why was that song done then? That would be the first question. The second thing is, why did LL then reply with, I shot you? Right? I shot you. Because look, see, the way I'm looking at it is LL and Big, they did the Flavor in Your Ear remix, the glue in the scene that would hold their relationship together, scene that it was Puff, right? He already had LL in the studio. He was bringing Big. So it would seem more like Big asked the question and LL answered it, not as between them two having beef, but in my opinion, them two saying something to Pac. It's my opinion. More diss towards Pac, right? This is my opinion. See, Pac does the California Love video, right? Jada Pinkett allegedly told Dr. Dre and Tupac about the Mad Max theme, right? You catch my drift here, right? She told them to do this. So, why did she tell them to do this if she knew that, you know, they could potentially be beef between Big and Pac at the time, and she knew that Big was down with LL? She knew this, right? How you say, how she know this, man? Well, at the time, LL had a TV show called, I think it was like In the House, and then Will Smith, Fresh Prince, her husband, he had a TV show called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They did a commercial together. You can look it up on YouTube, where they like getting on each other's nerves. Everybody knows that Tupac was alleged to have been the person who played in Independence Day. He died, and Will Smith got the role. These are facts. This is not like make-believe. You can Google this and you can look it up. So what's the dynamic there? You know, now you got the I'm going back to Cali video that LL also did, and now all of a sudden you got California Love, right? Right? California Love. Go follow me. I'm notorious. I'll crush you like a jelly bean, which was said before either one of their careers, you know. Anyway, you know, some kind of like manifestation or something. But another dynamic in there is JADA. Yeah. JADA Jones. See, JADA was in a relationship with LL. Yeah. Somehow during that thing that was going on in the 90s with the East Coast, West Coast, and all this shit, LL was at the helm of that shit. Undercover. When I start to look back, I didn't understand it at first. But I went back and I listened again. I listened to all the interviews and I listened to the music. And there's JADA Jones. Let me show you. LL was with JADA. Quincy Jones is JADA's father. It's alleged somewhere out there that Tupac made some very, very strong statements against Quincy Jones. Very strong statements. But somehow still, he ended up in a relationship with JADA. It's alleged that he went to Quincy and apologized to him for the statements that he made that was out of turn, but you wonder how much forgiveness was given here. Let me continue. So now, Tupac engages in this conflict with the East Coast, right? Because he gets disciplined. Basically, you know, saying, Big, you didn't warn me that this was gonna happen. But Pac, that was bullshit, right? On Pac's side. This where everything got twisted. Because Big did warn Pac. But the way Pac took it, he called the niggas up like, y'all niggas tried to set me up. Nigga, Big told me, nigga, fuck y'all. It was not like he was snitching. It was more like he was talking too much. And, you know, Pac was one of them dudes that wore his emotions on his sleeve. So, with that being said, you know what I'm saying? They robbed Big, the niggas that he said that. And that's why Big stayed out of that shit. Big was like, I don't want nothing more to do. Because the nigga got robbed based on trying to warn Pac about hanging out with Haitian Jack and all these niggas. Big warned him. So, still all in all, Big didn't lead that circle of people by staying with Puff and Wolf Jones on it. So that's the reason why Pac has so much animosity. He stayed with these people, even though they disciplined him like that, right? But JADA, right? Somehow, her and LL, they part ways. That shit fucked LL up. He was upset about this shit. She ended up with Pac, though, of all people. Pac. Now, let's go further in the future. Pac dies. It's alleged that she was in the hospital the whole time with him while he was, you know, going through whatever he was going through. But the strange dynamic with all of that, once again, and Quincy Jones was the executive producer of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and that in-the-house joint with LL Cool J, so let me put that out there as well. But the strange dynamic with all of that is the Vibe Party. But then, Big and Puff go to the Vibe Party, knowing that Quincy Jones and his daughter, Quincy Jones owns Vibe magazine, and his daughter is going to be there hosting the event. Gene Deal tells the story that Puff pissed in a champagne bottle and was going to pour some for JADA, and Wolf Jones stopped that shit. Is that why Wolf got killed? These are alleged, right? So now you have to really open up the whole can of worms again and really dig a lot deeper. So, but let me give y'all some connections and we're gonna end this, right? So you got LL going back to Cali, you got Tupac, California Love, and you got Biggie going back to Cali, right? All with the Mad Max theme, right? The Big Max value pack. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so let me fuck y'all up. Dr. Dre and LL Cool J in 1998 off the Bullworth soundtrack do a song called Zoom, right? It samples Quincy Jones' Iron Side, right? And in the song, part of the chorus line, they say, I got my mind made up, come on, get into it. Tonight's the night. So let it ride. That's Tupac's chorus line, what I got from I got my mind made up. I kid you not, go back and listen to that track and trip out on it. The second thing is, before that song is released, right? MC8 and DJ Muggs on the first Soul Assassins album got a song called Heavyweights, performed by MC8 from Compton Most Wanted. And in the chorus line, he goes, zoom, 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 zoom. So this is 1 year before Dr. Dre and LL come out with that song. You say, well, yo, Mac, what the fuck do that got to do with the story? Pete, right? On that same album that MC8 was on with DJ Muggs, Soul Assassin, Dr. Dre got a song called Puppet Masters. I did a video about it a long time ago. You want to search, go back in my videos and peep it. Yeah, Puppet Masters. Now, why does that matter, John Mack? Let's go to the future, right? Let's go to the future. In 2015, Dr. Dre, allegedly, and Ice Cube were on set with F. Gary Gray filming portions of the movie Straight Outta Compton. Suge Knight shows up, gets into it with Cleabone Sloan, runs him over, and allegedly runs the co-founder of Heavyweight Records, also from Compton, Terry Carter, over, kills him. Gets convicted, and you know the rest. You know the rest. Heavyweights and Heavyweight Records. Coincidence? Well, I'll leave that for you to think about. But that's just one of the connections, right? That's just one of the connections. What about Roger Troutman? Okay, so California Love video actually had Roger Troutman in it, but Biggie sampled, it was zapping Roger Troutman to do Going Back to Cali, written in the credits in the album, Strange Death by Roger Troutman and his brother. Strange Death. It's alleged that Roger Troutman and his brother were both assaulted by Suge Knight at Camp Studios. So, there's one more for you. And, you know, one of the final ones, you know, that I'm gonna leave on your mind with this whole thing, you know, with this whole thing is Puppet Master. Make sure you go back and peep that. Peace.